In your life right now, do you ever feel like sometimes you are trying to win a battle, but there's never a winner? Like you get tense in certain conversations or around certain people, and sometimes backing down or accepting defeat feels extremely difficult, almost impossible at times. For many gay men, when we are told that we are wrong, when we are laughed at, when we are corrected, those experiences registered in our nervous system from a very young age, not as just neutral moments or something that happened and we just move on afterwards. Those experiences registered within us as something is wrong with me. Those are moments where we felt very emotionally exposed and sensitive. And I'm sure right now, in this second, you can think of at least one experience that you had from a very young age where you were told what to do, you were told you were wrong. Because the way we grew up, the way we learned from a very young age that something about us was wrong. So now in the present moment, when we are having a conversation with someone and we feel that we are in disagreement, our nervous system reacts as something that is out of proportion and exaggerated from that particular situation. Sometimes the need to be right in an argument isn't really about the argument itself or the issue that's been discussed. But for us, it's more about what losing that argument makes us feel in our nervous system. And I noticed in my own life multiple times that sometimes, for example, when I'm in a conversation or when I'm sharing something, and the other person is not really seeing what I'm saying and I'm not being understood, I get triggered very easily. And sometimes it's really out of proportion from the topic being discussed. But what I came to realize in my own healing journey is that it triggers those old memories of inadequacy that we have. And everything that we do, everything that our body does automatically, like our reactions, our trigger reactions, all of that is trying to protect us from something. Everything that we do and the other people that we interact with are doing the same, and it is unconscious. We are protecting ourselves from some sort of danger. And that behavior comes from our ancestors when when they had to survive, when they had to fight for food, fight for shelter, fight for survival. And so our bodies are wired for survival. I'm sure you heard that before. So everything that we do in when we are relating to other people, when we are going about our lives, is to protect us from some sort of threat. And so when we look at our childhood, um, it's safe to say that for a lot of gay men, we had some sense of shame around our sexuality. And as far as I can remember in my own journey, when I look back growing up, I used to watch TV and I grew up in Brazil. I used to watch the soap operas. And the representation that I had was always a man and a woman, the couples, the stories around like families. It was always straight families. And the same is to films, people that we used to follow, like artists. Usually there wasn't really representation for our identities, for our gay identities growing up. And so we developed this unconscious belief that I was wrong. There's something wrong with me and that I had to hide. Even though nowadays that doesn't really make sense, and I know the world is changing and the world changed a lot. I'm 36 now, and 30 years has gone by since I was growing up, and it changed quite a bit, in my opinion. Even though there's still a lot of discrimination, even though we still have to fight for our rights sometimes, and things still happen, I am positive, and I do believe a lot has changed when we look at um, gay rights, when we look at representation in TV and in media in general, a lot has changed. So now, even when there's not really a threat to our selves, our body still registers that sometimes. It picks up those memories, those nervous system memories that are registered in our body, and it's different than the way we process things in our minds. And when we see in that way, it makes sense why our nervous system sometimes gets so dysregulated in a conversation, why we feel so tense in an argument, especially when we feel that we're being misunderstood. We feel that sometimes the other person is judging us. We feel that we're not getting our message across. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to restore a sense of balance in a conversation with someone. And we do that when we feel activated. We feel that there's a perceived threat. And so, in the end, it's not really about the topic, the discussion that's being discussed. It's really our nervous system trying to revert back to a sense of balance in that conversation. But what if you don't need to be right all the time? What if the beauty of us living as a collective, living in societies, living in different countries, and having our own perspectives and different opinions about the same thing? What if that's actually the point of us interacting in the first place? Because in my own life, sometimes I waste a lot of my energy and potential trying to prove my point, trying to make the other person see what I'm seeing. And a lot of times it's a waste of energy and it's pointless. Not all the time. But I think that in some conversations, we need to accept that we just have different perspectives. No one comes from the same background, no one comes from the same environment. We're all different in our own unique ways. And once I began looking a bit deeper, why am I getting so activated in this conversation? Why do I get so triggered in this topic? Just because of this issue that the other person doesn't agree with me. And then later on, I began realizing that it was just triggering those old shame memories, of the sense of inadequacy that I had, that there was something wrong with me. So it really isn't about the issue itself, but it's more about those old memories that we carry. If you resonated with what I'm sharing today, maybe next time you find yourself trying to win an argument, I want you to practice curiosity. Practice opening yourself to a different perspective. What if you don't need to be right all the time? What if there's something about what is being shared to you that you can learn? Something that you haven't thought about yet. And also what I'm learning to integrate in my own life right now is that two statements can be true at the same time. Maybe in a conversation that you feel agitated and dysregulated, maybe in that conversation your point of view is valid, but the other person's point of view is also valid. And so those two truths can coexist. Neither are wrong. And so once we allow that to exist, it will feel uncomfortable at first. Because we're gonna touch on those deep-seated wounds from childhood that we thought we were over it by now. But that's how we heal our emotional memories, our emotional baggage. Because if you really think about it, it is quite stressful to live our lives in this way and feeling dysregulated all the time, trying to win an argument with everyone that we interact with. And I think that life can be easier and can be simple once we just accept that we are all different, we all have different point of views, we all have different backgrounds, and we come from different places. And so it's normal and expected that our point of views will be different. And once we accept our differences, once we accept that different truths can coexist, we can move forward with lightness. We can move forward with what I'm trying to say. We can relate to one another, and we can have a conversation from a place of sharing, from a place of learning, from a place of a mutual exchange of ideas. And so I believe it's just a lighter way of being, a lighter way of living our lives, and we stop hurting other people along the way. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.